Right, something else that can come from this is it can also lead to a lack of contraction in the heart, because basically there's not enough force behind the blood, and the blood then stays in the ventricle, so it stays in those bottom boxes, those bottom vessels. It stays in there too long because there's not enough of a force behind the flow of the blood to bring it back out again, so it stays in there for too long. So what we can see from this is thin, leaky, watery secretion of the blood. So the blood, it's thin, watery blood. It's not thick blood, because it's damp and it's everything's relaxed and it's not going to where it needs to go. So you've got a load of, it leaks from the capillaries into the surrounding tissue. So what you get is you get a lot of tension in the vein. So you get because there's a lot of tension. Think of the riverbed again. It overflows and this fluid then leaks. So you get very puffy skin, puffy swelling. Causes a lot of puffy swelling. And again, like we mentioned this with the portal vein, and actually also the portal vein is likely to become relaxed, which again is going to affect blood flow. But with this situation, getting the blood moving is not going to be good enough, because you get blood moving, but yes, Gary, that was a very good interpretation. What Gary did, everything's so there's no point keep forcing the blood through if there's no, it's like keep forcing, stick more, if the river banks burst and the river's overflowing everywhere, all over the place, then there's no point just keep pump some more water into it. It'll create the river again. It's not going to create the river again. You have to build the structure back up. Yeah, you've got to put the structure back up. You have to rebuild that tissue state. That tissue state has to be tightened, has to have its integrity back. And also, sorry, to add more to it, more doom and gloom, from this state you can also get dryness, because if fluids are leaking everywhere that they're not supposed to be leaking, then they're not supposed to be where they're supposed to be, so therefore you're going to get dryness. So you're going to get puffy skin and fluid somewhere that you're not supposed to have puffy skin and fluid. Puffy tissue, I should say, not puffy skin, puffy tissues, puffy tissue state, because it's leaking where it's not supposed to be. But because it's not where it is supposed to be, you're going to get, that area is going to get dryness. So typically you get this puffy state and you get a dry state that follows it as well. So for example, you could get someone who's presenting with this, it's a damp relaxation state, but they might also have constipation as well, because it'll just go along with it, because down there everything's dry because it's not where it's supposed to be. It's not the right fluids, they're not in the right places, there's no structure. So often with this tissue state, even though we're looking at cardiac, often with this tissue state, you would also get that portal vein being relaxed as well, and you'd also get the whole of the pelvic area being quite and relaxed. Typically.
Relax. Could you use sluggish as well? Relax, sluggish.
I'm thinking more of like the lax. Yeah. I'd use the word lax. Like lax.
That's probably what I was trying to say, because you were saying about
lax. Yeah. So here we always need to be using to tone. We always need to tone the tissue. So we're going to be using. Pam.
Oh.
Pam gets a gold star. Gold star for Pam. Astringents. Astringents and circulatory stimulants, because once you have astringed, you want to be moving, you want to get everything moving. So the best thing here, best ever is horse chestnut.
Astringent.
Horse chestnut is a circulatory stimulant and an astringent. Also, you could use yarrow because it's got an affinity to the veins. You could also use, you would be looking at using hawthorn as well.
What was the second one?
Yarrow.
Yarrow.
Hawthorn Lee.
Hawthorn, in this situation, you would be looking at using hawthorn berry. And again, I wouldn't produce my own in that situation. Personally, I would buy a tincture, an organic tincture.
To give to your clients.
Yeah, I would.
How come?
Because I don't have the capability or the time within my to produce it. You've got to have a fair lot of raw product to create something that's going to be effective in that situation. Because, answering one of your questions, that's kind of like you're looking to restore in that situation. If you're looking at somebody with varicose veins, you probably want to use that as a preventative as well. So you're probably going to have that person on, once you've got to a stage of, they're quite much better actually, very good, thank you very much. You'd want them to be on a low dose tincture, something like horse chestnut, yarrow, hawthorn, like for the foreseeable. If they're my age, you do. If they're very young, you got a serious problem and you need to be going a little bit, it's okay, what's going on here then? But at this age, you'd want someone to be on that afterwards, because it's going down that preventative, whereas you can't do that with a drug. You shouldn't do that with a drug because it's turning things on and off, whereas the plants will do that. It will be a preventative. Common symptoms on this are high blood pressure or low blood pressure. Could be either way. High, why could it be either way? High because everything's having to work too hard because everything's too relaxed and it's pumping too much, or low because it's really not working too hard, so it's just going, ugh. Yeah, so it could be either high or low blood pressure. Passive vein congestion, which is varicose veins. That's what passive vein congestion is. It's also what hemorrhoids is. It's just somewhere else, not in your legs, that's all. You also need to be thinking, so that varicose vein, you also need to consider, this is where, think about the vital force showing up the symptom, yeah? This is where it's showing it up. So that's showing up, if that's showing up, let's say mine are here, back of the knee, if that's showing up there, it's not just going to be there. That's going to be, consider that to be throughout the entire system. Yeah, it is though, isn't it? Yeah, because
Good.
yeah.
Once they're already there, the varicose veins,
It's not
would you be able to treat them to make them better, or is it?
Yes, no, you can treat it to make it better.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, you can. You
I didn't know
can.
if it
So
was
you would
something
treat
that
it
you-
internally,
Yes.
but it's like, you know, when you get things that you just treat topically, it's going to help, but it's a sticking plaster, because this is where we want to be. We want to treat, this is exactly what we want to do. We want to tonify that tissue, put those veins back, get that circulation moving. So basically what So on your little report, yeah, you can see what I'm going in your report. On your report, if you put down there varicose veins, yeah, that could be a root of your high blood pressure.
Yeah. I'm thinking actually I'm probably overdone it then. I don't think it's varicose, it's darker, and it's got darker lately, and it's a darker vein behind the leg that
Okay.
hasn't been there for
Is
long.
it?
It's not really bulging like a varicose
It's
vein.
not really bulging, but it's more bulging than it used to be.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Bulging more than your other veins.
Bulging more than your other. It's obvious. You can see it.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
Put
but
it
you see what I mean about
Yeah.
putting things down.
Yeah.
Once you put it down on paper, you can start to
Yeah.
analyse it a little bit better. But typically, this is from this tissue state. This is where you go with that. Have you ever tried horse chestnut, hawthorn, anything like that? No. Okay.
Hibiscus tea is about the only thing I've tried.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's not going to do it. No, that's not going to do it. Okay. So. Next one. Right, okay. Let's do. That's all our tissue states, I believe. Right, okay. So I'm not going to go through evaluation with you. I'm going to cut it out. There you go, that's it. I decided to cut it out because they're just points like, oh, look at the... No, you want to know about bulbous noses. Okay, let's just go through a bit of evaluation. So I just want to get this straight. This is not how you diagnose someone, right? Please don't come back and say I diagnosed someone because they had blue fingers or a bulby nose, okay? It's not. These are just constitutional things that you can use as with your little chart, with your little sheet. You just make a note of with there. Let's just pick on Bailey. Let's say we're doing a one-to-one with Bailey. We're going through her evaluation. We're going through all the symptoms. And as a confirmation point, she has a very flame-shaped red tip tongue. And she also has very blue fingernails. So that would just be, oh, that's a bit of a confirmation. It's not a point of diagnosis. Your evaluation techniques, which we haven't done yet, because we have to do this first, they're what you work with. These are just confirmation evaluations, yeah? So, main thing to think of, main thing, top tip, your heart touches every single part of your body through your blood. So you can't exclude anything from anywhere because your heart is touching everywhere. Did I tell everyone about the pulse position book that you could buy?
No.
Yeah, Matthew Wood. I didn't know.
Yeah. The Earthwise, the Matthew Wood one, which is the Earthwise.
Matthew Wood does a pulse evaluation. I don't know what it's called. Time practice to something pulse evaluation. I don't know what it is. But do you know something? I honestly, I'm going to say this, but you're not there. So I'm going to say it's for information only. Don't try to diagnose anyone with the pulse because it takes a very, very long time to be able to diagnose people with a pulse. So pulse position is left wrist closest to the thumb, and it's deep. It's a deep pulse position because it's a dense organ.
What was that, sorry, where?
So pulse position is left wrist closest to the thumb, deep because it's a dense organ.
Where have I seen that before? It's a piece of art.
So you'd be looking at the rate and the speed which the blood is being pumped, basically. So is it irregular, like the wind? Or is it changeable? Or is it rapid like fire? Or is it slow and sluggish like damp and depressed? Is there tension? So to feel for tension, think of it, I like to think of it like, is it like a wire? You know, flick a wire. Or is it like a washing line? Or saggy? Or is it like ting, 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 ting? That's, I don't know why it's got a sound. Tongue is tip and just back from the tip. So the heart proper, the heart itself, rather than the circulatory, is just back from the tip of the tongue, and the whole thing is the tip of the tongue. And if it is red tipped, then that is heart heat, which is mental stress and tension. It is a sign of mental stress and tension. Did everyone know that the tongue actually grows from the heart space in embryo? I can't say.
No. Embryonic.
Yeah, embryologically, I can't say that. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, in the embryo, the tongue grows from the heart, which is quite profound, I thought. Okay, so you are looking for, in your evaluation, you can look for pale tongue is damp, cold tissue state. A dry tongue is dry, cracked tongue is a sign of atrophy. A swollen, puffy tongue, typically a swollen, puffy tongue with teeth marks inside of it. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tomato.
Yeah. It's typical of a damp tissue state, and also from digestion as well, which fits in with your tomato. Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like.
To have a white coating on the tongue is typical of stagnation. I kind of think these are all obvious, really.
I think you just kind of done.
Well, when did I do that?
Not all of them.
No, not
She's
all
did
of
the
them,
red
but
one.
you've done like some of them.
Yellow coating is
What was
damp
the,
heat.
So what was the white one? Sorry?
White coating is stagnation.
Stagnation.
A yellow coating is damp and heat. And a red tipped tongue with little spots on is typical of heat excitation. We can also use the lips as well in confirmation. So if someone's got very blue or purpley lips, that's circulation issue because the blood's not moving from the core to the periphery. Same goes with the nails. If you pinch and let go for the nail, if it stays white for a really long time and the blood doesn't return to the nail pretty sharpish, then again that's a poor circulation. And nose, a bulbous red tipped nose with broken capillary beds is a classic heat, fire, heart excitation. So too much heat. Big red nose, too much heat.
Yeah.
Santa. I don't know, you know, that kind of thing.
I was
Bulbous
just
red
thinking of something
nose.
that drinks.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm so glad
Yeah.
you said that. Because my dad had at the end a really red, purpley,
Yeah,
broken.
I think it
Yeah,
came off
yeah.
what's his name?
yeah,
The royal family. His nose. It's like I
yeah.
can't think of his name.
Oh, you mean off the royal family, like
Yeah.
the TV
It's
show?
Yeah,
typically,
Sorry.
it's typically, that is typically heart.
Quite too long.
Classic fire, heat, fire rising. Yeah.
Is that rosacea as
Oh,
well?
right.
Sorry?
You get that on the nose. Rosacea.
Yeah. So the it's basically the capillaries bursting. Yeah. Right. I want to go over quickly before we, because I don't want to not. So before we start talking about herbal actions and actually looking at some materia medica and then I want to go into common conditions. I want to quickly go over the energetics of the heart from an emotional stance. So when we started by talking about the heart being the organ of perception, I don't want to leave this out, so I'm going to say it quickly. So I just want to go over it. So we're looking at the energetics of the emotional heart, just briefly. So again, the heart is the primary organ of perception. It's who we really and truly are. We are focused around our heart. If you think of the heart being associated with fire, being associated with the sun, the heart is at the centre of your being. The sun is at the centre of the unit. Yeah, you're with me. You're with me with this. Yeah. So we're not focused in the mind. We are focused in the heart. That's where we should be. So if we keep at the forefront of our evaluation when we're thinking about people and clients, the heart is the core of who we are, but it's our spiritual self as well. So it's what the heart is, what connects us to the natural world. It's, again, when we started we talked about toxic upload. It's because we're not using the heart, we are using the mind for that upload. So our Western culture and this Western, you gotta think about it, this Western culture of heart disease being so prominent, I think it's important for us to consider the impact of our transition from heart to mind, because we're here all the time, and we've got all this heart disease. Well, we're here all the time, so it's considering the emotional effects of it as well as the physical, you know, what we're eating wrong, what our lifestyle is wrong. Well, part of our lifestyle being wrong is the fact that we're always here and we're never here. We're not in our heart space at all. So it's like, well, it's becoming redundant, if you like, except it's not bloody redundant, is it? It's key to our existence. So we no longer assimilate through the heart, we're mind focused, and the health of the heart is very dependent upon the health of the mind. Problem is the mind orientates itself through time, it orientates itself through the past or the future. And that is basically the conditioned self. That's what we're talking about. We are conditioned to be like that. You know, we're 4 years old or we're younger than that, and we're parcelled off somewhere where we're constantly taught to think either in the past or the future, or we're not taught to feel. No one gets 4-year-olds and sits them down at school and teaches them to feel. That's not a thing. I don't do that. You do.
But I was the only one.
So this is at the root of a lot of our cardio-spiritual problems. What's important to remember is that the intelligence of the heart has the ability to reprogram the mind. So the intelligence of the heart has the ability to reprogram the mind. And basically what you're looking at there is to feel and not to think. To feel, not to think. So you're looking at the connection to nature, to feel nature, to actually be in nature. And as we're in nature and we feel nature, so we connect to the vital force, so we connect to the source. That's exactly what we're connecting to, the universal source. it empowers the heart, which then reprograms the mind. And we should always encourage clients to embrace or educate clients or something.
Encourage.
Yeah, encourage heart perception. Yeah, so encourage feeling, to perceive something without thinking, to encourage that. So I'm the classes as homework. To go away and think about that. Think about not being there. So when you go, oh God, how am I going to deal with that? You're going to come out of that space and you're going to be in that space for a while and see if you can deal with it differently, rather than thinking, where's it be, nights and thingy, whatever, give me something quick. No.
It's the overthinking that's the
It's the
problem.
overthinking, yeah. So try and get into that space there.
Yeah.
Is meditation a good practice?
Yeah.
Well, that's a stupid question, but like meditating in the heart space,
Yeah.
you would recommend that to a
Yeah.
client?
You should be doing that all the time. You've got my book.
Yeah.
Which book? Journey of the Soul.
No.
The Recycle
The
Soul.
recycle.
So
Recycle.
when you sit in the power, sit in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be doing past life work. That's
Yeah.
you getting to know your own energy. That's you sitting. It's literally a 5-minute meditation. 5-minute meditation. It could even be a contemplation. You don't even have to close your eyes. But this is your power. That's your power. That's your soul self. We don't connect to it because we're all in here, connected to everyone else.
The same as we don't
In-
breathe from our stomach.
yeah, we
breathe
don't-
from here. We don't
yeah.
breathe from there.
Yeah.
Here, so that small exercise, and it's not doing anything fancy. It's just coming down and sitting in there and pushing out to here with it, and sitting in your own energy, your own space, and then off we go again. So you're not having to learn oh God, I need to go on a whole how to do this and how. It's not. It's
Everyone's
Easy.
well-being will be impacted by that simple 5-minute
Yeah.
practice
yeah,
every day.
absolutely, yeah.
It's just people
Yeah.
don't think that will impact on their body.
No,
Yeah.
they don't.
They just think, oh,
No, they
it's
just
some
think,
fluffy stuff.
yeah,
that we
yeah,
just do.
exactly.
But
When
it
you
does-
say to breathe from the stomach, and you're like,
Yeah, it's not.
They don't
It's just
actually-
overlooked.
Because then,
Yeah.
again,
But
they're
again, we're
going
taught
from
to think like that.
Yeah, I know.
We're taught to think like that.
Yeah, when you start doing it, you start seeing the benefits of it. Then you
Yeah.
start going.
Same
like,
as when you change your diet.
Yeah, we're taught
Might
to
be
think
shit,
that's
isn't it?
exactly how. That's the conditioned self. You are conditioned to think that's a load of shit.
Mhm.
But it's not.
Yeah.
So although we're talking about a very today, we're talking really practical. We're talking really scientific. Well, scientific as I get anyway. Aspects of the body. We must see that we still have all. Look at the dialogue. I suppose that's where I want to go. Look at the dialogue that still exists in our language. We still say the term heavy heart, heavy-hearted. We're not talking about the bloody heart weighing a lot, are we? That's dialogue that's talking about the emotional heart. We still use it.
Cold-hearted as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
warm-hearted.
Cold-hearted, hard-hearted.
Yeah.
This is all dialogue that's still used. We still all know what it is. You know, so we're not referring to the physical but the spiritual heart, and we still use it. We still use all the terminology. Broken-hearted, broken-hearted.
That's actually a thing, isn't it?
You know, it's still used. It's not the physical
your
heart
heart
being broke up. It's
It's
the
the
emotional
inside,
self. Yeah,
I
it
do
is.
say that the women.
So it's the feeling of the weight of it. It's this weight of it, of this. It's a spiritual human condition, being connected with the heart, and we are being forced away from it. We're being conditioned away from it. It's bad, very bad news. Very bad
Having a
news.
heart to heart
It's very bad
having a
news.
heart to heart, yeah.
So this is the emotional or the spiritual heart. And I like to think of it as the same, you know, you talk about the physical and you talk about the 4 parts, the chambers of the heart. Yeah, well, okay, let's associate that with it then, and let's, if that helps to keep our mind focused on the spiritual, if we need it to be focused on that, if we need a prompt, let's talk about the 4 parts of the emotional heart are full. We want a full heart. We don't want it to be half-hearted. We want to be fully committed to things that we do. I know we are fully here, committed to this, what we do, full-hearted. To be open-hearted, not closed-hearted. So full, open. To be clear of heart as well, not clouded or shrouded or. So to be clear-hearted and to be strong, not weak. So full, open, clear, and strong. Like that.
Strong being what, sorry?
Strong-hearted, not weak-hearted. You know, not a big fat pushover. Is that what I mean? You know, strong in your power. Yeah. Yeah. Confident. Yeah, I am certain. Yes. This is what I think. This is what I believe. This is how I feel. This is how I feel. Strong in your feelings. Passionate. Yeah, but without saying that, because that's got strong.
And full would be the same as wholehearted.
Yeah, full heart. Yeah. The kind of, you know, because it is, isn't it? To be full and not half-hearted is to be wholehearted, and that is, if you're wholehearted, then you're open-hearted as well, and you're clear as well, and you are strong. So it's kind of getting one and separating it, just to remind us that it's the 4 parts of the emotional heart. But yeah, it is one thing. It's wholehearted. It is to be full and whole. Yeah. So through the heart, we achieve this psycho-spiritual balance. And if we think of it as well, the heart chakra is key to balance. If we take it down the chakra route, if you want, it's key to balance between the celestial and the terrestrial. So it's how we connect physically. It becomes that physical bridge of connection, yeah, through the heart chakra. Interesting little thing. The heart has an electromagnetic field 10 times greater than the brain. Did you know that? I thought that was quite impressive. The heart has an electromagnetic field 10 times greater than the brain, and it extends 10 foot beyond the body.
Just say that again. The electromagnetic field 10 times.
10 times greater than the brain, and it extends 10 foot beyond the body. So you could look at it as the heart of being a highly refined radio receiver. Sorry, I'm doing my things. So this is how we.
That's how you can connect.
It's how we communicate. Yeah, it is. It's how we communicate with. Do you know what? Let's bring it back to plants. This is how you should be connecting with your plants.
Yeah.
This is how you connect with your plants. From here, connect with your plants. That's how. And for the whole world, we should be connecting from here.
So how are you saying you connect with your plants from the heart?
I've heard of
Talk to them
people.
straight.
How do you connect with your plants, Mrs. Garden Centre? Do you just look at them on a morning?
wow.
Do you not talk to them? I'm being
that's
that's
what you
from the
mean.
heart.
Yeah.
That's from the heart. That's not just going, oh, calendula. Do you know what I mean? You're
I'm being tactile, feeling.
yeah, you're feeling.
being
Yeah, you're
one with them.
feeling. You need some water. Yeah, I talk to everything all the time. Wow.
Well, and
Surprising, really, is it?
meditating with them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the heart. That's feeling it. Yeah. That's feeling your plants.
Because you get lots of people who will grow plants and not do any of that.
No, they don't. All the plants outside Aldi often sad. Sorry.
You mentioned
Aldi are bad
last
people.
time. Yeah, good. I wrote that down. I forgot.
The times I've gone to Aldi and bought the plants just to say that, say you are now saved.
So name after
So
spiritual connection with.
Do you want me to knit some in?
Okay.
Sounds good. Do your plants die a lot, Dave? I said I'm playing classical.
let's not just get Dave onto his pop music. Right, I've done that. Okay.
I wrote it down. You told me. I'm sure.
So remember that a lot of psychological disturbances are treated through the heart. So keeping the spirit strong by letting things go and keeping the spirit clear is really, really important. And I know that's kind of like a given, and everyone's probably thinking, oh,
I know, because I'm so tired, I can't keep up with the now.
Journey with Plant Spirits.
That's it, yeah.
Journey with Plant Spirits, MFL. That's what you told me last time.
It's got meditations in it.
So have you ever felt plants talk to you, or you
yes,
get
you
feelings?
should be able to, your plants should be able to communicate with you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they've all got their own little accents.
No,
And some are Cockneys and some are from Yorkshire, you know.
It depends what day of the week it is and what you smoked.
Not what she said. But
Good eye night.
But you should be able to feel. You should be able to feel a connection. Just feeling a connection with, just the same way that you would go out and feel a connection with nature. Well,
You should be able to feel
plants
that
is no
energy.
difference. It's just feeling rather than just intellectualising everything. Right, I'm moving on to herbal actions.
I nursed a broken sunflower back because Talia ran over it, knocked it over, and I thought, no, it'll never go. And so I just kept nursing it, I did talk to it as well. And it
That's
only
very
grew
good,
that high,
Dave.
but it
Jack and
flagged.
Ori with Dave.
Okay.
Please don't.
Right, okay, herbal actions. Let's move on to some herbal actions. So we're focusing on the critical vitalist actions that will help in a precise way, so becoming really specific when we start to formulate. So we're being clear between our uses and our actions. Well, I think we are. So we've got two major actions. Say two major actions. First one is cardiotonic. And a cardiotonic is any plant that's going to strengthen the cardiovascular system. See, that's so simple. Cardiotonic is any plant that's going to strengthen the cardiovascular system. When we're talking about strengthening it, obviously we're looking at something that might be cooling and strengthening to the vessels. It might be strengthening to the fact that they need to expand or contract. It might be working to strengthen when they lose elasticity or tone. You get the idea. Strengthening, I know I'm putting it under a big umbrella, but anything that's strengthening to the cardiovascular system. Few plants here, major plants are hawthorn. Hawthorn is pretty much always going to be at the top of your list. Hawthorn, linden and yarrow.
Excuse me.
Hawthorn's real heart medicine then, isn't it?
It is.
Which part of the hawthorn are you referring to?
I'm referring to berries unless we're looking at a nerve connection. Okay. And then you can also add to that little list motherwort, lemon balm, rosemary as well. I'll go into these more afterwards. The other major action, so that's major action number one. Major action number two is cardioactive. Now these are toxic plants.
So
I'm going to,
cardiotonic is action number one.
yeah. Number two is cardioactive. These are toxic plants in high doses. So you don't use them unless you know exactly what you're doing, but I do want to mention them. So basically this is something that you would only use it in an extreme state, because what you're doing basically is you're stimulating the heart into a greater sense of regularity. Dodgy ground, need to know what you're doing, need to be a complete professional. And in that little list is lily of the valley and foxglove.
Yeah, good, thanks.
So what that plant is doing, just to be clear, is that plant is stimulating the nerve response. And if the dose is incorrect, it's not easy to metabolise, so it could kill someone. Right, let's look at our circulatory stimulants. So I'm just going on to some more actions now, but your two major ones are those two major ones. Some more actions are circulatory stimulants. So these tend to be pungent, warming, aromatic plants. And as such, they're kind of pushing out from the core. You kind of got sheets and all this sort of stuff, but I will go through it all again. So as it's pushing out from the core, you're looking at things, it's really important in cold, damp conditions. And as using formulas as well to drive. So drivers in formulas. Does everybody remember when we did formulas and we talked about drivers? So delivering the formula by pushing it out along the circulation. What you have to be cautious about here is, and this is where if you go back to the start, we mentioned yarrow briefly, you have to be cautious that you don't use a circulatory stimulant which are mainly pungent warming in a heat excitation condition, unless you're either going to neutralise it with something cool or you use a different stimulant, yeah? So you use a stimulant that works in a different way without heat. So for example, you could use rosemary. Rosemary's cooler. It's not like using cayenne. It's a circulatory stimulant, but it hasn't got the heat. And important to remember, generally speaking, the hotter the plant, the stronger it's going to drive.
You use ginger as well.
You can, but ginger is warming. So if you're working with somebody who's got heat excitation, you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Also, these plants tend to be stimulant diaphoretic, used in fevers. So they're used by opening pores, driving the blood to the surface. So driving the blood from the core, where the fever, the hot core, out to the surface. Then they open the pores, so it cools the blood, and then the blood moves back to the core, so it cools us down. Yeah, does everyone get how that works? Hot, out, open, cool, back, cool. Yeah. So let's, for example, if we look at garlic, it dilates the capillaries. I'm just going to list a load of stuff for garlic. Blood vessels, it thins the blood. It cleans the blood, it stimulates the circulation, it's a great antiseptic if there's loads of crap and stuff in the blood. It's super antioxidant, so it's going to be really nutritive and protective to the vascular system, but it's a great for really, really, really hot plant. So although it's got loads of stuff that it does, it's not suitable for everyone. It's not going to be suitable for everyone.
And wild garlic. I'm just thinking of like yourself, if you can't have garlic.
Yeah,
Like
that's a digestive allergy though.
But you still, digestive allergy, but you still wouldn't take it and there would you. So
No, I would not take it. It would probably kill me if I took it.
So that's what I say of like actions, is there much difference between garlic and wild garlic, or are they obviously they're of the same family, but then
I think you would.
You'd steer away from garlic if somebody had a
Yeah,
garlic
if it's still hot, it's still hot. It's not going to be a case of. You might get a variety out there somewhere that is mild, slightly milder, slightly cooler. But why would you risk it if you can just use rosemary, which you know is not going to interfere and cock up with stuff? Do you know what I mean? It's about being pragmatic and sensible, and it doesn't matter if there's 300 varieties of garlic and 2 of them are slightly. Don't be a smart ass about it. Do you know what I mean? Use the rosemary. See what I mean? It's just being sensible. If it's going to be too hot, it's classed as a grade 4 hot. Don't go searching around for one that's grade 3 or 2 or something else. Just stick with something that you know is not going to be as hot. Yeah, and build up your formula accordingly. So build up your formula. Say, okay, I need it to do all these things that garlic does. So what will I use instead of garlic? Yeah? So what's really important here to remember is that yarrow is a great stimulant, but energetically it is cooling. And that is important because there's not many circulatory stimulants that are cooling. So you should always remember your yarrow is really good. Echinacea is also cooling. It is also a circulatory stimulant. So when we're dealing with the heart, basically we need to be really, really clear, as with everything, but really clear with our actions and our hot and our cold and our tissue states. Our tissue states are really, really vital. We really need to be mindful of that. Ginger, Dave mentioned ginger's also really good. Fresh ginger, something to remember, fresh ginger is cooler than dry ginger. Dry ginger is hotter. And a tincture made with dry ginger is going to be hotter still. Right, moving on to circulatory relaxant. Now, there's a real difference here between driving the blood to the surface through stimulation and opening up the vessels to allow more blood to flow through. Because one is very active and one is very, come through, come on, that's it. And the other one's, come on, get going. So there's a big, big difference between a circulatory stimulant driving and a circulatory relaxant, which is opening things up to allow it to come through. Why am I saying that? Because a lot of books don't say that. A lot of books, when you start to look at Materia Medica, they don't. They just put it all under a great big fat list saying circulatory stimulants, and some things are not stimulants, they're relaxants. So be aware of that. Okay. Antispasmodic. So if we're looking at antispasmodic, so we are increasing circulation by relaxing the tension. So it's a circulatory relaxant. That's the action we want it to do. And we're going to use an antispasmodic because it's going to relax the circulation by relaxing tension. So if there's, you know, when we talked about the kink in the hose pipe, if there's a kink somewhere, if there's a, oh, please don't turn it on.
Are you warm enough?
Well, they might not be, but I'm melting here. It's like someone put me on the barbecue.
It is still kicking out some heat.
Talking about rising fire. Shh. Apologies, people on the video.
What pen's running out? What pen's running out?
Tragic.
Did you say you're a real pitter person?
Me? At this age, yeah.
No?
I need a bit of balance in there.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. Right. So increasing circulation by relaxing the tension. So relaxing that constriction in the system. So basically you're looking at wind tension, releasing any kinks in any hoses. Typical for this, cramp bark. We mentioned cramp bark earlier. Also lobelia, because lobelia equalises the charge on the nerves. So it, so how to explain that? If you're looking at the tension tissue state, and you get that, because it's tension, you might get that sticky sort of, where the blood's sticking to the side because there's so much tension going through, because there's like the hose or we're looking at the arteries being kinked or tight, like this, there's too much pressure, so it's all getting really sticky and tight. Lobelia relaxes that. It doesn't just relax it, the blood, it's kind of relaxes the charge. Imagine if you're pushing something, there's like that, you know, the electrical charge against something. Ow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like doing it up the side of a balloon, that electrical charge, friction, that friction. So lobelia is not just going to relax the tissue state, it's also going to relax that charge against where the blood's going down, being forced through, and it'll be a little more
Help to flow.
chill.
Flow thing.
Yeah, it'll be a bit more chill about it. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'll get to the end of the day, I'll run out of examples. Other relaxants, we've had antispasmodic. There are 2 antispasmodics. Top ones, cramp bark, lobelia. Right, relaxants. Ginkgo. Okay, back to ginkgo. Ginkgo, you're looking at the leaf. Never give ginkgo leaf if blood pressure is low. That's really important. So ginkgo, basically the way we generally think about it, it increases cerebral circulation, so it opens all the blood capillaries to the brain. So it's like a brain food medicine thing. So it's increasing the circulation. But what people overlook there is they think of it as, well, why is that vascular? Why has that got anything to do with cardiovascular? Well, it has, because it's opening up from here. It's no. So it's flooding the brain with. It's helping that. It's a relaxant. That's how it works. It relaxes so that the blood flows. Another one there is valerian, passion flower as well, and hops. And these will relax the smooth muscle opening, so it will open things up. It'll calm things down, especially if there's a lot of mental tension. Again, we're in mental tension, but we're talking about the heart. But if there's a lot of mental tension, that is going to affect the heart. So again, we want to all these are going to calm things down so that things flow. Circulatory relaxants. Moving on to nervines. And although the heart is not exactly connected to the the rhythm or the pacemaker I call it the pacemaker, I don't know what it's technically called. The rhythm, setting of the rhythm of the heart is governed by the nervous system, so that's governed by that nervous system connection. So calming down the nervous system is going to help the cardio system if we're in a situation of overtension or stress, anxiety, all that kind of stuff is going to impact the heart. So, for example, you know, we was talking about being in, I'll get my workshops mixed up, but was we talking about being in fight or flight? We wasn't we? We did at some point, didn't we? Yeah? Right, so if you've got someone who's quite clearly operating in a state of fight or flight long term, and they're stuck in that sympathetic state where they're so stressed and they're eating in a sympathetic state, they're never coming down into parasympathetic, they're always on the go, pork pie on the dashboard, that kind of shit, you know, all that sort of thing. Then if you've got someone who's in that long-term state, then that will be stressful for the heart. That is going to impact the heart. It's putting your head in the sand, I tell you, to not think that it won't, because it will. So calming down is the nervous system in that situation is going to be essential. And basically what you'd be looking there at, probably one of the top things you're looking at there is valerian. But you do have to remember that valerian is quite warm. So what valerian is doing? Valerian is a cerebral stimulant. So what it's doing there is the aromatic oils of valerian drive up to the brain, but also at the same time it's sedating the nerves as well. So it's kind of awakening this, but making you really chill with it somehow.
That's good.
Kind of thing. So if you've got someone who's a pitta constitution, they're a little bit hot, you don't want to put anything hot in, you would use passion flower. Because passion flower is better for that type of client, that hot client. Hots are good as well. Again, passion flower is good for insomnia, so excellent for that racing thoughts, you know, racing thoughts, can't sleep with racing thoughts. Overthinkers. Cardiovascular specific nervines are hawthorn flower, which we've already mentioned, motherwort, linden, lemon balm as well. Also, if you're treating someone who, okay, so let's stick with the heart, the circulation is being affected and the heart is being affected by the fact that we have someone who has got an over anxious, stressful, tension state, and let's say so we need to work on the nervous system, and let's say someone who has been in any kind of system of drug use at all. So I'm not talking about prescription, well, no, that's not true. Yeah, it could be prescription drug, but I'm also talking about drug use as well. So I'm talking about alcohol or any kind of drug use at all. You would want to use something like, if you use something like milky oats, so milky oats, you're looking at, the best way to use it is in a tincture. And it's really quite specific in how it's made, because it has to be made from a fresh seed, the seed of the oat. When you squib it like that, it's like a latex comes out of it, and that is what would replenishes the nervous system. So if you've got someone who's gone through a period of drug use and they've kind of like crashed out, so they're coming out of that period, then they're going to feel absolutely sort of like obliterated. That is a real, it's got an affinity with the nervous system, and it's restorative for the nervous system. but again, impacting on the heart, because anyone who's gone through that is going to be really very much connected to the circulatory system that we're talking about. Does that make sense? So that seed, that milky oat seed, is really mineral rich. It's really restorative, you know. Moving on to diuretics. So diuretics, good to have in a formula if you're seeing a damp pattern that you need to drain. So draining fluids from the tissues and eliminating through the kidneys, basically.
Draining what, sorry?
Draining the fluids from the tissues and eliminating through the kidneys, pretty much. So a very common use for blood pressure, but again, plants-wise, the plants are going to replace that potassium that's lost through the kidneys. Again, diuretics, you need to know that your person is not a, let's just call someone a kidney patient who's got a real problem, yeah. Plants to use for this, celery seed is really good. Queen Anne's lace as well. Obviously, nettle leaf. Dandelion leaf, obviously. And again, you can add to that, because of the affinity with the circulatory system and the heart, you can add to it hawthorn, linden and yarrow. You see the pattern here? You could also add to it juniper, but remembering that someone with any kind of kidney damage can't use juniper at all, like never, ever, ever, because it's a diuretic in a kind of different way. It's a stimulant. How am I doing on time?
It is 4 o'clock.
Oh no, we haven't finished. We haven't finished by...
No.
Gary, did you tell me to put another organ system?
I said you could do two organ systems, yes.
We can't.
Look how far we are.
Clearly.
Look at all the stuff we haven't talked about.
Oh my goodness.
And to be fair, we haven't interrupted loads either. We have sat and just got on with it.
Yeah.
I can't talk any quicker, I don't think.
Oh, no, I don't
I
think
can't
we'll
put any
be
more
able
out.
to take it.
You couldn't take it in any
I've got
quicker.
whole pages of that. I just crossed it through and just went too much, later, confusing. I just took those out of it.
How long did that take you to do that?
Week,
A week.
pretty much on and off. Yeah.
And you expect us to get it all written down and listen.
But I'm having to dissect it.
But we have to absorb it as well, don't we? So it takes time for it to sink in.
That's why you watch that.
So half the time I write things down and I'm not actually taking what she's saying, I'm just writing it down. And then I watch that and I go, oh yeah.
Yeah, you can't. They can.
Yeah, exactly what
Sometimes
you're doing.
you've got
especially when
to
she's
go
doing
back
that
and.
For the first half of the
Yeah.
day I do. The second half I
So do I need to stop feeding everyone?
Yeah.
No more food.
I won't be able to go much
No
over
food
this
or
because I've got to
fires.
get back to maths.
Okay. Right. Do we want to stop then and carry on next time? Right. There's lots and lots. Okay. So what I don't want everyone to do is get disheartened that we haven't finished today and all we've talked about is what
No,
happens
because
when
it's
your
a
heart bloody explodes. So
There's still a lot there that we can go away and look at and add to.
because the next thing we're going to do is common symptoms. High blood pressure is the top one. Okay. I will actually say that the statistics for high blood pressure are appalling. It's shocking. The amount of people with high blood pressure is off the scale. But anyway, and then we're going to go into remedies for high blood pressure. Hawthorn is the top one. I'll just lay that one down there, okay? Hawthorn berry is the top one in a tincture. It's the top one. and a hawthorn tea, but tincture. Linden is the next one, and yarrow. So those three are pretty, but you do need. I mean, I'm just saying that.
You couldn't risk like making me now from November.
Well, I was passing tinctures around today as well, but there's no point doing it until we do this because we haven't talked about it. So I wanted everyone to actually taste it, you know, and actually tell. I wanted you to tell me what it's doing and where it's going to, you know, where's it feeling.
This is your reminder once again, but you don't listen.
Well,
Don't do stuff on the Saturday when we've got stuff on a Sunday because we're all broken. We're all like,
So if you're trying to, right, so this is not what to do, okay, because we have to find out why. But if you really want to try and have an effect before you go to the doctors,
just don't go to the doctor.
I've already put it off. Like she told me 3 weeks ago to record my blood pressure for a week. So I thought, okay, I'll start doing that like mid-November because I'm trying to get it down before I start recording.
okay, right,
But
okay.
then that alone,
But then
it's going
you-
to stress you out. Thinking
Okay.
about checking your blood pressure is going to stress you out.
Yeah.
But okay, try. It's not going to hurt you to try a tincture of hawthorn. It's not going to hurt you
No,
to try a tincture of. Got no kidney problems? No.
no.
It's not on your little client list at all. Nothing to do with kidneys.
I used to get loads of UTIs, but that was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
But
Oh well, how did they treat those? With antibiotics?
loads of antibiotics, and I literally
This
went
does need to
through
go down on
virtually
the plan
all
sheet.
of them. Literally all of them, and there's only one antibiotic I could take in the end. And I used to demand, I have to take that, and he gave me it like I could just take 4, and it would get rid of it in the
Okay.
end. So I had
Right.
a lot around that time.
Okay, but since then they've tested your kidney and everything. You haven't
Yeah.
had anything.
No.
Okay. Right. So that needs to go on your little client sheet because that's all that and that amount of antibiotic use is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt you unless there's something you haven't told me. It's not going to hurt you to try hawthorn in a tincture.
Great.
Just try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Okay.
Just get some organic hawthorn in it. I've got some. Get some organic hawthorn in a tincture, and you can try the others as well if you wanted to. But I'd just try the organic try the organic hawthorn,
Yeah.
and then keep testing. Keep testing your
Blood pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lola. Tom.
Okay.
And then from going back to what we're doing or not doing, so we're going to go through all the plants, and then all the different like hardening of the arteries and varicose veins and hemorrhoids and all the rest of it. And we're going to go through the plants to use for there, and then we've also got all the formulas to go through as well. So we've got some tinctures to pass around and taste. So today's disappeared.
Yeah, but it's not
But
nothing
still.
you've done. You've gone as fast as you could.
Yeah.
Left you
Yeah.
to it.
Do you know what? I sat in bed last night as well, Gary, preparing. This is going to make Gary feel bad.
Yeah, it's your fault, Carrie. We said
So
it.
Gary said we'd be able to fit in a respiratory system as well, and I sat there until 11 o'clock in bed working on the respiratory system until my writing was so bad that I thought I can't do it, and I shouted to Johnny, I can't do any more, and I stopped.
Whoops.
However, you've got respiratory stuff done, so you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
Not really. I've got half of it done and some of it I can't read. Yeah, but okay then. If we want to stop, that's cool. That's fine.
I mean, you
Does everyone-
carry on and I'll just go.
Does everyone want to stop? Is everyone good to
No, I
stop?
need to get. I need to
Okay,
get-
cool.
Yeah.
That's fine then. We'll stop.
The two of
Does
them.
everyone get today?
Yeah.
Yeah? Get today, yeah. If we don't get it, watch it again. Watch the video. Johnny will put the video out and we'll watch it again, okay?
Could you email it to me? Or do you want me to email you to remind you?
You email me to remind me to email you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.